as Brian mentioned, we've got some seed company reps that he contacted us a couple years ago, and we seeded some dryland corn where this wheat is actually over here. This company that he's working with, this Ray Hybrids, is developing corn varieties with really short maturity dates. The one behind me here is a 73-day corn, and typically in the Sheridan area, we don't have enough growing season to grow grain corn. You know, your 110, 120-day corns that are usually grown everywhere else, but they've got they're slowly moving corn production north, and they've been working on corn hybrids that and shorter maturity, so they can get production farther north. They've got corn growing clear into North Dakota now, which is something that didn't happen several years ago. But he got us some seed, and I planted a variety trial, a few varieties a couple years ago, and then this year I've seeded some more. I just happened to, I got this stuff in just right before that 2.5 inch rain Memorial Day weekend. I got it in ahead of that, so it worked out real well. As far as soil moisture has been really good, and we've had some timely rains, so it's been doing well. The actual trial over here, there's 4 varieties, and that's in a conventional field over there, kind of conventional tilled, and this was no tilled. And as I moved across, I slowly started running out of seed. So as you can see, I've got 8 rows of one variety, 12 rows of another, and then 28 rows to finish out, because that's what I had the most seed of. But I've got it labeled as the maturity days on these varieties. And like I say, we're going to kind of take a look at them and see what they do, if they produce, if we start running out of moisture, if they just don't make. That'll be something we'll know. I do have these under irrigation, a couple of these varieties under irrigation in town, because I had enough seed of those, and so we'll see how they perform in there too. But if you got any questions, this is just kind of something fun we've got going on to see if it'll work. I think the goal is to see if, you know, there's some of these dryland areas where they can get some forage production off of it, or do some grazing later on to have a little bit of corn in there to boost some of their nutrition and production. So if you got any questions?
Just a comment, Dan. I think the biggest thing to see how it affects how well this does will be summer moisture. I mean, it's the shorter season obviously is important, but just because they're warm season plant, just how well it does for summer, not much rain.
Yeah, that's what we noticed a couple of years ago, because we kind of ran out of rain toward the end of June, and it just kind of, things just got up a little bit taller, probably about twice this high, and then just stopped. So, but they did produce some little teeny short ears, so there was some production on it for at least. Yeah.
Might make it a good forage.
Yeah, that's I think what they're kind of looking at it too. So
Dan, I went down towards Recluse the other day, and I noticed acres and acres of this corn planted, but it wasn't that high.
Yeah.
What would be the purpose for the average person to do that?
You know, kind of an alternate, as well as, you know, using a small grain, you know, in between hay crops, or, you know, crops of hay. If you're gonna roll out a field of alfalfa that's starting to peter out, then, you know, you could seed in an alternate crop for a couple of years and then grow.
I think these fields have been historically grain fields.
Yeah.
Wheat.
Yeah.
So does it help build the soil?
Weed control it could be one.
Yeah, it could be some weed, for weed control. That's years ago. I know Jim Kroll and he got a hold of some short-statured corn to seed in dryland areas down in southeast Wyoming, and that stuff would only grow about maybe 3 feet tall and produce ears about 4 to 6 inches long, and it was kind of as an alternate type crop, an alternate forage. They could harvest it with a regular combine if they needed to do that, but it was, you know, to kind of break some of the weed cycle as well, and just to keep the ground covered. Instead of having the wheat fallow rotation, they'd seed the corn in the fallow area as well, and try to keep the ground covered as, you know, kind of a cover crop. But I'm not really sure of whatever happened to any of that seed or anything like that, and, you know, I kind of lost touch with that project. So
Last year in the other site you had soybean. What was anything learned from that as far as? I was thinking the same thing in terms of a Roundup system. I'm presuming this is Roundup here.
Yeah,
right?
this is all Roundup
So
ready
you have
corn.
the same
Yeah.
options there with soybean.
Yeah.
What was any kind of lessons learned from the soybean there last
We
year?
didn't. We just hayed the soybean because it was a 4-H soybean, and we didn't really collect any data. It was more just to see what some of these alternates look like. We didn't really do any data collection or anything like that on it. So, but we've got some the first grains and seeded into that area this year, and I'm kind of curious to see if I can see any effects of the extra nitrogen that it might have put in.